So, you've got an idea, a software idea, but how do you plan this? Where do you go next? How do you organise this idea? My name is Ben, this is Ben Educate Productions, and I'm going to be telling you about planning your software projects. So here I have made 5 steps. This is my personal plan that I've made. 5 steps if you're ever creating a product or an application using software. This can literally be anything. Any idea you have. Basically this plan, the 5 steps, is something that you should consider making whenever you even have an idea for anything. Even if you don't know how to do it, you should still sort of plan it out a little bit. So, number 1, research. This is very, very important. This is looking at other companies, seeing what their apps look like if you've got a similar app to them. This is, this is about you finding out whether this is a good app, like whether this app will be good, whether it will be useful, and also, do you have any competitors? That's also quite important because you need to make sure if you've got any competitors or anyone who has a similar app that does similar things to you, you need to think about what can make you stand out. And also, if you've got 10, 20 competitors of a similar thing, you might even think this might not be worth it at all. So that's why research is the first stage, because you get to find out whether it's actually viable, whether it's doable, whether you can afford it, whether you can actually have the technical knowledge to create it. So research also involves how to do something in programming. So for example, making a web scraper or something like that to gain information. You might need to also do research about databases. You might even need to do research about user interfaces. Research is really important. And then number 2, design. This is also very important because you need to think about who this is for, who's the target audience. If you're doing it for people, the age of 13, or anyone from like 30 or younger, it could be quite sophisticated, it could be detailed and a little bit complex. But if it's anyone who's under the age of 10, you want it to be quite simple and easy to use and easy to get around. It needs to be user friendly. Like whatever age group it's for, it needs to be user friendly. You also need to think what kind of colour themes are you going to use. It could be an app designed for a specific gender, or it could just be unisex. So it could be any sort of colour palette you want, really colour themes you want. You need to think about font styles, what font styles are going to appeal to different people. And target audience is quite important, but it kind of depends what you're creating really. If you don't really have, if your target audience isn't really that important to what you're creating, you can just think about what kind of font styles you think look nice, and then maybe get other people's opinion of it. Show it to your friends, ask your family about it, see whether they think the font style looks nice or not. And then wireframes, this is quite important. If you're creating a visual-based application or even like a website or web app, you need wireframes. Now, I'm going to probably do a separate videos of wireframes at some point, but all you need to know really that it's a basic layout or a basic plan of a website. So you're going to, have your navigation bars, you're going to have a search bar, you're going to have text boxes, stuff like that. It's a way of planning out the layout of your website. So when you go to actually create this application or website, you have something to reference to instead of just getting lost and muddled up. That's quite important. And then number 3, I've got prototyping. So this is going to be make some basic models of a prototype. Again, get your friends and family to test out your prototype, because if the only person testing your prototype is you, then it could be biased, or you could just slip over something, and you could just go over something and not realise something's wrong with it. So definitely get other people's opinion with it. Whatever software, application or website you're making, it definitely will help to get a second opinion. We've also got, can it function? This is a stage where you really look at, will my prototype actually work? Will the end result be doable by looking at this prototype? So if you've got a basic build and it's quite functionable, then you can think this could actually be quite doable, I can do this. So we've also got efficiency. We need to think, how efficient is the code going to be? How efficient is all the handling with databases and everything else that goes into it? How efficient is it going to be? And then not everyone can do this, not everyone should do this, but build prototypes until you get the working thing. build it up from the ground up. Think of a prototype as a block, a building block, and think of your end project as a tower of building blocks. You got to pick prototype over prototype over prototype, test them out, get other people to test them out. If you're making this for a client, get the client to test out your prototype and get some feedback on it until you have the finished product, until you have it in, everything's working and it doesn't have any bugs, doesn't have any glitches, and it's completely working and you're satisfied with it. And then we've got one which is more based for self-producers who want to make some money. This is monetization. You need to think, should I put ads in my app or my web app? You need to think, how many ads should I have? Because everybody knows that too many ads is quite annoying and it can put some people off using your application sometimes. You need to think when to show the ads. You don't want to keep popping ads up all the time, and also you need to pick a good time to show the ads, or maybe show the ads after the user has already gotten value and use out of your product. If you show them the ad beforehand, they might get a bit annoyed because they haven't actually used your product yet. But also you may think that it guarantees you monetization because they've been on your site. So they could visit your site and not use it and you won't get any money. But then you should just make a good product really that will get people to use it, if I'm being honest. So yeah, it's up to you with that, to be honest. And something that is quite popular for mobile applications or mobile games is pay for ad free. It's usually like 99p or 50p or something, and that user will never see ads ever again. So that's quite an interesting thing you can think about doing. And then user accounts is number 5. This isn't really like, this just depends on what kind of project you're making really. As I said, like, this is just my personal plan, like, but you can sort of take away from this still, because stuff that I'm making, like, this is mainly for like self-producers like me, like solo developers who want to make a little startup and get some money from it, and just help people on the internet, who provide a service on the internet that people are going to use an app, because that's a great way of passive income. But we're going to get onto that at some future videos, and I'm probably going to be even making an app at some point. But yeah, we've got user accounts, we've got where should we store user accounts, we've got costs of hosting, servers, anything like that, and also user search and like user history. So on your application or your website you can have a search bar where the user can search stuff, and a history where, this is just specific to something that I was making. It could be different to whatever you're making, it just depends what you're making at the end of the day. So guys, that's pretty much it. Like, I feel like what you should take away from this is you should be organised, especially if you're a solo developer. If you're working in a company, you probably won't have to do this because there'll be a project manager who will give you the plan and you'll follow the plan. But if you're a solo developer, you should definitely plan. You don't have to follow along my plan specifically because that's something that I made for me, but you can at least take away from it and just take some notes, take some mental notes about the kind of things you should do when you have an idea. Because the worst thing that happens is you have an idea and you think, where do I start? How do I even start doing this? And then your idea just fizzles out because you had no clue how to plan or organise it. And it could have been a really good idea and it could have turned out to be something really good. So just keep this in mind, plan ahead, stay organised, and yeah, if you like this video or if you found it helpful, please go and subscribe and like, I'll really appreciate it. Leave any questions below in the comment section if you have any questions for me or any questions about my software plan. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.